You've likely heard the cliche, it's always darkest just before the dawn. Well, John Macarthur is going to show you that if you don't know about history's darkest moment, you won't understand the best news that God has ever delivered. That's next on today's Grace to You. Well, what is the best news you could hear today? Well, it's not that a raise is coming your way, that you or your spouse are expecting a child, or that your health is strong. That's all wonderful, of course, but today on Grace to You, John Macarthur is going to show you something far better. News that you'll still be celebrating long after your death. To hear what this good news is and why so many are missing it, stay tuned as John Macarthur continues a brand new study titled The People Who Can't See Christ. And now, here's John Macarthur with today's lesson.
Mark chapter 8. In the 8th chapter, we come to verses 27 and following, verses 27 down to verse 33. I have chosen to call this message the ultimate good news, bad news experience. In Peter's case, the greatest commendation he ever received, followed by the greatest condemnation he ever received, or for that matter, anyone ever received. At first, the news couldn't have been better, and suddenly it couldn't have been worse. Here's the moment. Let me read it to you. Verse 27. Jesus went out along with his disciples to the villages of Caesarea Philippi, and on the way he questioned his disciples, saying to them, "Who do people say that I am?" They told him, saying, John the Baptist, and others say Elijah, but others one of the prophets. And he continued by questioning them, "But who do you say that I am?" Peter answered and said to him, "You are the Christ." And he warned them to tell no one about him. And he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things, and be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and the scribes, and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. And he was stating the matter plainly. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But turning around and seeing his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan, for you're not setting your mind on God's interest, but man's." So when we come to this passage then, first comes the good news, and that is the confession, and it is launched by an exam. So the question, "Who do you say that I am?" Peter answered. He is now the established spokesman, and I'm sure they were talking about this all the time. I'm sure as they went around day after day, they were always talking about, is he not, who is he? But this is the first time the confession is made in Mark. You are the Christ. But through the years, they struggle with that. They don't struggle because there's no evidence of divine power. They just struggle because he doesn't conform to their preconceived patterns. He's maybe obviously a prophet of God, we'll grant him that, but he just hasn't done what the Messiah will do. Where's the conquest? Where's national independence, national freedom, power, blessing? Where's the overthrow of Rome? And he's so meek and lowly and humble and submissive and pays taxes to Rome. And he's hated by the leaders of Israel. So you can understand that they're fluctuating between fear and doubt. And it's not so much that they don't accept that he's the Son of God, the Messiah. It's really not deniable. It's just that they can't take full ownership of it because it doesn't look the way they think it should look. But here at last, the truth of his deity and messiahship is settled. And though they continue to have doubts and fears about the plan, they don't have doubts and fears about the person anymore. Okay? They settle that here. Jesus was the Son of Man. He also was the Son of God. By nature, man, and by nature, God. He's not a mythical deity like Pan, and he's not a mortal deity like Caesar. This confession comes out of Peter's mouth, but it's collective. But it isn't just the result of experience. It isn't just the result of empiricism. It isn't just the result of human reason. It isn't just connecting the obvious dots. Because when Peter says, "You're the Christ, the Son of the living God," immediately this is what Jesus said to him, recorded in Matthew 16:17. "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonas, because flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, but my Father who is in heaven." Human reason doesn't get all the way. Empiricism doesn't get all the way. Experience doesn't get all the way. It requires divine intervention to make this confession. That's why 1 Corinthians 12:3 says, "No man can confess Jesus as Lord but by the Holy Spirit." It's a divine work. And this is the moment. And I would just extend this reality to say to you that no one makes the full confession of Jesus as Lord and Christ but by the intervention of God. No one is fully convinced unless God gives understanding. No man comes to me, Jesus said in John 6, unless the Father draws him. 1 Corinthians, he says, the only way you'll know the truth is when the Spirit of God teaches you. The Spirit of God teaches you. The natural man understands not the things of God. They're known only to those who are taught by the Holy Spirit. I love Matthew 11 and verse 27 along the same line, because it affirms that truth which I have just articulated to you. All things have been handed over to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, nor does anyone know the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son wills to reveal him. You can't know God unless the Son reveals him to you. You can't know Christ unless the Spirit reveals him to you. So here comes the revelation from God as to who Jesus is. The remaining doubts disappear. Doesn't mean that they didn't doubt the plan. Oh, they doubt the plan. But it does mean from here on they don't doubt the person. And that's where you start, isn't it? The truth of Jesus Christ was then believed because the full revelation came from God to them. Jesus was confessed as the Messiah because the work of God and the work of the Holy Spirit had been done in their hearts. They confessed the truth in clear and deliberate contrast to the popular viewpoints. Everybody says you're something other than Messiah. We say you're Messiah.